Welcome to the Multi-Orgasmic Mama podcast, where sexy motherhood taboos are broken. I'm Tilly Storm, holistic sex and jade egg coach and tantric sex teacher, all-around pleasure and prosperity advocate, and mama of two. If you are looking to get the spark back in your sex life and relationship, if you'd like to revive desire and feel sexy again without hormones, years of therapy, or trying things that don't feel authentic in the bedroom, then download my free Ignite Your Desire e-guide at www.tillystorm.com/e-guide. This episode is brought to you by the Sensually Embodied Woman Collective. If you're ready to remove all your blocks to pleasure, turn on and feeling confident and sexy in your body through my paid programs and offerings, then head to www.tillystorm.com today. Four steps to create and enforce boundaries with your family so you can get it on more. Welcome back, my luxury lovers. Today, I'm wondering, are you someone who often finds yourself saying the following? I never have energy for sex, so we don't do it very often. There's never any time to connect with my partner. We currently don't have a babysitter or anyone to watch the kids, so we never have time away from them to spontaneously connect. The kids sleep with us, so we never have the space to have sex. The baby is always waking up, so we don't really get to do it because we're so afraid of waking him or her up. If you said any of those things lately, this episode is for you. And I'm just going to tell you straight up in the lovely way that Tilly does, all of those things that you say are shit excuses that you give yourself to not have an emotionally and intimately fulfilling sex life and relationship, because you don't get that pleasure is for you, and you most likely suck at boundaries with your kids. I know this because, well, I've had kids and I know what it's like. And I also know that you don't have to give up your intimate life simply because you have kids. I've actually always been a mom with really clear time and energy boundaries with my kids, something I feel like I didn't really struggle with, but I understand that a lot of people do. And I understood that making time for sexy time was just, if not more important for me than it was for my partner. So last week in episode 150, you heard from Erica Osborne, who mentioned that she and her partner made it a priority to make them a priority after having her son. And she mentioned how the reason women and men often give these excuses around not having time or energy to have sex is because you don't understand that pleasure isn't something you engage in just for your partner, but it's actually for you. So I wanted to create a whole episode around this topic of pleasure being for you and how to create and enforce boundaries with your family so you don't miss out on the things that really matter in life, like intimacy and connection with the people that you love most. And you don't end up 10 years into your relationship when your kid's 10, 15, 20 years old and you're like, oh, where'd our sex life go? And it sucks, okay? I've heard from so many women about how now isn't the right time for them to do this work, or how you just don't have the time or the energy to put into working on your sex life and relationship so that you can experience more pleasure, intimacy, and connection. Well, when I hear this, my heart breaks on the Zoom screen for those of you who do not understand how when you're on your deathbed, you're going to regret that you ever bought into that lie that so many of us buy into that says we don't have time to do what matters in life because you're so busy checking off to-dos, raising your kids the right way, as I use air quotes, and giving our all to our businesses, our careers, and families, that the intimacy and connection we have with our partner went to the wayside. Well, way to live in scarcity consciousness, lover. Scarcity consciousness around time and energy. We generally only think of scarcity around money and abundance, but it's rampant in society that we have scarcity consciousness around time and energy as well. But the truth is that energy and sources of energy are all around you if you look for them. So if this is you, and you have no idea how much life that you're actually missing out on because you don't know how to create and enforce time and energy boundaries with your family and your career in order to have and experience the love and intimate connection that you crave deep down, So let's dive into one of humanity's core wounds. So when you read the title of this podcast, you probably thought, oh, she's going to give us a list of how to say no to things, or, how to say yes to things if maybe you have too fierce boundaries. Well, you should know that better. That if you're going to listen to an episode on boundaries from me, we're going to go deep into the root of it. You can read a ton of mommy blogs about how to have boundaries. But if it worked, you wouldn't be here listening to this podcast episode right now, would you? No. So that shit is shit advice that you're getting off of the internet. Okay. The problem with lack of boundaries or too fierce boundaries is the core wound of exploitation. Exploitation. Feeling exploited as a young person is the wound that creates either the hyper trauma response of having impenetrable boundaries where you wall up, you don't let anybody in, you say no to everything, or the hypo trauma response of having flimsy boundaries where you let everyone walk over you. Now, you know both types of people, the people who are so walled up that you can't get to them. They say no to everything perpetually. And then you know the people who get walked over all the time because they don't have boundaries. This is all to do with the wound of exploitation. You can't just start saying yes and no consistently and it actually work if you don't go to the core of this wound. So, according to the great trauma resolution coaching guide, Rachel Maddox, who has an epic online course around trauma resolution called Rebloom, and she just wrote a book called Rebloom, which I highly recommend you check out. It is such an inspiration for so much of my work. Exploitation around our sexuality and our relationships looks like feeling taken from without consent, whether stolen from, used, capitalized on, taken advantage of, harassed for another's gain, exposed at a cost to you, or trespassed upon, or extracted from. It looks like feeling unsafe or unwanted. It looks like you over-offering or over-giving your resources as a response to being exploited. So if you think about it, there's probably not a single person listening that hasn't felt like any of those things have happened to them at some point in their life. Like, you're probably pretty sure, yeah. Like, oh, I felt that way. So trampling on someone's boundaries over and over it's the easiest way to disempower a person over time. So if you're walking around feeling like you've got impenetrable walls up, you're too fierce boundaries, or they're too flimsy that you can't separate yourself from your kids, and it's bleeding into your relationship and sex life so much that you're giving excuses like, I don't have time and energy for sex. Well, you have got work to do, my love. So without further ado, here are 4 steps to creating time and energy boundaries that will help you to experience more pleasure, intimacy, and connection so you can get it on more and stop creating excuses like that for yourself around why you think you can't have what you want. The first is to recognize that your flimsy boundaries or your too fierce boundaries with your family. So maybe you don't have kids, but maybe you have older parents that you deal with. This can totally relate to them as well if you don't have kids. That these issues come from your childhood conditioning and wounding. The feeling that you don't have time and energy for pleasure or a great sex life is because you are tired and drained of either having flimsy boundaries or too fierce boundaries. This is why you're tired, not because of all of the other things you say. And I'm going to go even deeper into this too. So this is energetically absolutely draining and life-sucking. I mean, there are a lot of parents out there that just need to learn how to say no to their kids. And there are also a lot of parents out there that need to learn how to say yes to their kids and families. So there's a balance to find, and that balance will come when you recognize that all the ways you were exploited as a young person, whether sexually or energetically or in any other way, are the reason that you swing one way or the other of having either flimsy or too fierce boundaries. Your nervous system has picked up the message that you will only survive if you're one way or the other, but not somewhere in between. Because we were all living in our window of tolerance somewhere in between in a balance when we got here. but we learned that it's not safe to have that. You only swing one way or the other now because you haven't shown your system another way. You haven't found safety in your window of tolerance or your thriving state. So you can prove to your nervous system that it is safe to have clear and consistent boundaries. And here is how. So that leads me to the second step, which is to name and claim your needs and feel worthy of them. Name and claim your needs and feel worthy of them. If you've been exploited all of your life and pleasure, intimacy, and connection were always the afterthought instead of the priority, this is because deep down, you don't feel that pleasure, intimacy, or connection is a need that you are worthy of having. So spending some time connecting with your body and asking it, what does it need? Like literally putting your hand over your belly, right around your navel, and saying, I need, and then listening to your body to see what response it gives you. I need. What do I need? I need a freaking nap. I need my kid to put themselves to bed for once. Whatever it is, just listening to your body and feeling, what do you need? Such a powerful way to begin connecting to your needs in the first place. So once you recognize your needs, can you claim your needs and feed them? So this is how you restore self-worth and a sense of worthiness around pleasure, is that you recognize your needs, you feed your needs, you take the actions necessary in order to get your needs met. So you came here knowing as a baby that you were worthy of being fed and taken care of. And you would cry out without any sense of feeling like I couldn't, right? You just did. And you were speaking your needs by doing that. And what I find is that women will often not speak their needs because they don't feel worthy of their needs being met deep down. Men do this as well, but I just said women because I mostly work with women. So it's very powerful to recognize your needs and then to claim your needs and give yourself what you need to restore your ability to have clear, fair, and just boundaries. This leads me to the third step of creating and enforcing boundaries, which is to repair and heal at the nervous system level previous times in your life when your boundaries were violated or exploited. So this is all about completing nervous system stress cycle releases, getting into the nervous system level, which you're not going to read about on a freaking mommy blog, okay? So think back to when you can remember being exploited at some point. It doesn't have to be something sexual, although it could be. It could be, being raped or molested or, something terrible like that. But it could also be something as simple as opening, loving, and caring for someone and then having been taken advantage of. So being taken advantage of might not seem like a huge offense or something that was really traumatic at the time, but if it happens over and over again, your body registers it as a problem. So it's really amazing how sensitive the body is at picking up on subtle forms of exploitation and registering that seemingly benign event as not safe. So even if you've only experienced the feeling of being taken advantage of at some point, this can lead to flimsy or too fierce boundaries depending on how your nervous system chose to respond to the event. It is all unconscious, and you don't have control over it when you're a child or a young adult, but you do have control over repairing and healing your nervous system to bring yourself back into the experience of healthy boundaries and being a sovereign being. So the fourth step is a step that most people tend to go right off the bat. But this is actually the last step you need to take after you have worked at that nervous system level. And the fourth step is to honor your yes and no. Okay? This could mean sexually, it could mean energetically, it could mean logistically. And for a lot of you listening, it's probably all three, some combination of all three. So tuning into your body and really feeling for, what am I a yes to? What am I a no to? Asking yourself that. Seriously, like taking a moment, touching your body. What am I a yes to? I say yes to this. I say yes to that. I say yes to this. And then what am I a no to? I say no to that. I say no more. I am done. Okay. And giving yourself time to tune in and receive the answer from your body. Your body does not lie. It knows what it needs to thrive. It's always trying to thrive. But if you're not tuning in and listening, then you're not listening. So are you really a no to sex because you're too tired? Sometimes that answer might actually be no. You're a no to sex because you didn't have boundaries with your kid, and now you are too tired. So you see how that works? Like, your kid isn't the reason that you're too tired. It's the fact that you didn't have boundaries. Okay. Again, excuses, ways that we, plow over the deep-seated root of the problem in the first place. So when you're starting to enforce your boundaries, take a moment to think about the boundaries that have been particularly challenging for you to enforce and keep in the past. So let's use this as an example. Maybe it's letting your kids sleep in the bed with you when deep down you really, really, really want them out. And for that stage of your relationship with your child to be over, but you're just hanging on to it because you don't feel like doing the work, or you don't want to have to wake up 10 times in the middle of the night. Well, using this as an example, what might you need to work on giving some time and attention to? So in this case, the need might be working with your kid to sleep in their own bed, even if it means him or her coming back in 5 times a night. But you are worthy of feeding your own needs, and you can do it with consistency and repetition. So now that you know the 4 steps to creating and enforcing clear boundaries so you can get it on more and experience more pleasure, intimacy, and connection, and experience and establish your sovereignty as a human being who is not a victim to life's circumstances. You are not a victim to your kids. Can I say it just again? You are not a victim to your kids or your family. Stop giving yourself excuses. Just stop. Take responsibility. Heal your shit. Now that you realize that all your excuses to not intimately connect with your partner or to give yourself pleasure, it has nothing to do with lack of time or energy. So what will you do today to begin getting in touch with your needs? Feeling your needs as worthy of being met, and then creating, enforcing, and staying consistent in a loving, compassionate, and gentle way with your kids and family, so you stop giving these excuses about why you can't have more pleasure in your life. Okay, Rantober. Need some support with that? I would love to help you out with that. That's what I do as a coach. So there's a couple of different ways people work with me. I have a women's group program called the Essentially Embodied Woman program, and it is open for enrollment. We are starting a new cohort at the end of May, and you can join at any time. We've made it evergreen, but we will be starting with week 1 at the end of the month, and the last day to get in on the new cohort will be May 21st. So all you need to do is head to www.tillystorm.com/essentially embodied woman. So it's essentially embodied woman, or just go, hover over the work with me section and you can find it there. You want to fill out the quiz and then book a call with my assistant, Jennifer Love, and she will have a conversation with you to talk about what you're struggling with in your sexuality and your relationship, what you're wanting to create for yourself in this area, what the blocks and obstacles are for you getting there, and then help you to see if one of my programs is the right fit for you. So if you've had lots of trauma around being exploited, such as birth trauma, sexual trauma, or relational trauma, we'll figure out together if Essentially Embodied Woman is right for you, or if you really need to work with me in a one-on-one extended container. It's not right for everyone. Sometimes if you've had these deeper traumas, you need more time. Trauma healing takes time. It takes time and repetition. So if you're a guy listening in and you really need to work on this as well, head to tillystorm.com and you can book a call with me or my assistant to learn about my one-on-one men's program. So lots of love, my luxury lovers, and I will see you all next week. Bye.